Welcome to another episode of Instant Mood Improver, the show where we talk about the songs that put a pep in your step, turn your frown upside down, and otherwise make this miserable thing known as existence a little bit more enjoyable, if only for 3 minutes. Today's guest is Brett from the Juliana Theory. How are you going?
What's up? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So yeah, a bit of bright and cheery conversational topic with a dude from an emo band. Sounds normal.
Very, very normal. Very normal.
Now, of course, you are coming out to Australia for the very first time in a very, very long time with your friends, the Spill Canvas, and you are going to be revisiting the absolute masterpiece of the genre that is Emotion is Dead. How stoked are you to be coming back down under?
Super stoked. We had so much fun the last time we were there a generation ago, so we're super pumped to come back for real.
Now, I'm curious, do you have fans now that have come on board in the latter period of the Juliana Theory experience that won't know that Emotion is Dead was sort of the moment, for their parents?
That's a great question. I know we have fans now that were not alive when the record came out, for sure. Definitely some of them were introduced to the band by their parents, but then we have people have been showing up to our shows that were like 16-year-old kids, and we're like, how do you know about us? And they would just like, we found you on the internet or whatever. And so that's a good question. There's probably a few, not many, but yeah, I think probably a few.
Is it fun for you at this stage of your career to get the chance to relive those formative breakthrough moments?
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. It always feels we are very humbled to be able to play music that came out 20, 25 years ago and have people appreciate it now or have it be a special part of their life or something that they want to revisit. It's very special to us and definitely not lost on us. It's so cool.
And of course, to be coming with Spill Canvas, who are a band that, to my knowledge, haven't been here. They may have, but I don't recall ever seeing them down here, and I'm a fan. So that's pretty fun.
I think you might be right that this might be their first time. I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, both bands that have records that make people nostalgic when they put them on probably inspire a little bit of happiness when they put them on because they get to revisit the moments in their life where they felt the most, I suppose, the most free to make choices in their existence. So, with that in mind, what makes you feel good? What songs make you feel like the world is yours for the taking? Like you're going to wake up with the biggest smile in the world. You're going to step out there and you're going to give it your best.
Probably my favorite piece of music from when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old, and that would be John Williams' theme for Superman from the original Superman movie. Because I just remember those, even the other themes in that movie, like the love theme or the Krypton theme. There's so much music in that movie that that movie was such a part of my childhood. And then hearing those, I know they're technically not songs, but those pieces of the score were so informative to my life that like they just I can't possibly hear the original Superman theme and not feel pumped. It just lightens my mood no matter what, for sure.
That's an amazing answer because no one's mentioned a soundtrack yet. And that is an iconic piece of music that I think would make most people feel like they're ready to run through walls when they hear it.
Exactly. Or at least run into a phone booth that doesn't exist anymore and rip open your shirt and have a giant S on your chest and then fly up into the sky. Yes.
And then fly up into the sky. It's funny you should say the phone booth that don't exist. I actually have one out the front of my property.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it still gets used. They don't cost money to use over here
Wow.
anymore. They're now free. They
That
also
is
serve as
crazy.
Wi-Fi servers.
Wow.
So you'll routinely see people who perhaps aren't in the best situations, standing out the front, either using it to try and catch some Wi-Fi, or using it to make calls to people who they don't want people to know they're talking to.
This makes sense. And you know what? This makes sense that Australia would still have them, but America wouldn't because we don't like to have anything in America that people can use for free. So that checks out. But yeah, it's like so you can become Superman at any point in time very easily.
Exactly. It can
Yeah,
become Superman at any point in time, which I might have to do once we finish
you should.
talking here. When I go
You
down
should.
to get my coffee from the cafe down the road, I'm going to have to pop into that phone booth
You
and pop
definitely
out.
should.
Although I'm not sure I make a very convincing Superman. I don't quite have the physique, but
That's okay. As soon as you step in out of the phone booth, you'll automatically have the physique. It just happens. You just put on the suit, and next thing you know, you just look like Superman.
now I'm curious in your career with Juliana Theory, and you're also the member of a very, very influential metalcore band originally, but we won't touch on that too much. Have you had people tell you that your music plays an important role in their life, whether it be by improving their mood or soundtracking their most important moments, perhaps soundtracking their most important moments, given you've chosen a soundtrack here?
Yeah. It never like it never doesn't blow my mind when people tell me these kind of things, but yeah, definitely. There's so many people have walked down the aisle or had their first dance to Top of the World, or I just it's a bunch of people told us they've named their kids after our band and things like that. So yeah, it's weird to be on the other side of it and to have people tell you that 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 something you made puts them in a good mood, or makes them feel good or whatever.
Iconic piece of music from Superman you've chosen has a lot of interesting movements that to me make sense to make a human being feel inspired and ready to go
Yes.
out. The way it escalates, the way it builds into this big dramatic crescendo where it's like, I am
Yes.
Superman. Uh,
Exactly.
is that something that you look to do when you're structuring your own songs? I'm wondering if your early influences have impacted the way you structure songs yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm positive. I always think that left to my own devices, I would, on accident or on purpose, accidentally make things more epic than they need to be, and more I'm not sure what the right word is, but I tend to lean in a direction a lot of times that could be considered cheesy by a lot of people, but it like wanting to just be a little bit more grandiose, I would say, as far as choice of notes and choice of exactly what you said, crescendos and build ups and layering and things like that. So I think yeah, it has to be in my DNA for sure, musically.
Brilliant. Did you know that there's a film named after your record?
I do know about it because the director um, somehow reached out to me on. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. He sent me the link to watch it, and I just completely forgot. My brain does not do very good with a lot of things that I just completely forgot about. I need to watch it, but yes, I did know.
Yeah, sorry, Pete Williams from Adelaide.
Yes, Pete. Yep, yep. Hi, Pete. Sorry, Pete. I still need to watch the movie.
And to make things worse, you're not even going to his city.
That's wild.
How can you have an Australian tour with Emotion is Dead? You don't go to the place where the guy who wrote the movie Emotion is Dead is from.
I mean, we played Adelaide before, but yeah, then not. Yeah, not. Yeah. Weird.
That's all right though. I mean, they're most famous for having the most serial killers in Australia anyway, so probably best best avoided.
It's still like I'm probably thinking like Australia and serial killers. It's probably the most is probably such a small number. I bet they could probably
It's
could.
not great. It's not a huge number, but it's a lot for us. Like
Yeah,
violence is not really our thing.
exactly, exactly.
we're more into things like idolizing emo bands from the other side of the world and waiting very long times for them to come back to our, our nations and play, or doing what seemingly every guy in my age group does and just boarding planes and going over to things like Fest and and when we were young and things like that. Or what's the new one? Best Friends Forever.
Yeah, yeah, that one, that lineup looks really good this year. Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Does it is it weird for you being in a moment where the music you were part of propelling into popular consciousness with your era of bands is now in its nostalgia moment? Like the emo thing is massive again with generations well below you. The indie rock thing is massive again with generations well below you. So it's now kind of a nostalgia product in some circumstances. And it must kind of feel like those bands felt like when the 70s revival happened.
Yeah, I mean, at first, when it first started happening, when I first started seeing different emo nights happening in the States, I remember thinking, what? What on earth? This is ridiculous. And then it hit me like, oh yeah, 80s nights. Oh yeah, like there's 80s nights everywhere X amount of years ago. And it's like, okay, well, if you fast forward it exactly, well, 15, 20 years, then you're gonna have emo nights now. That makes sense. So now I get it. It all checks out.
It does. Now, for me, what checks out is the opportunity to see you perform this record live.
Can't wait.
I do have a question for you though.
Yes.
Why did you re-record a song from this record on your next record?
That was we were asked to do that by so Motion is Dead came out on an indie label that wasn't really necessarily that big of a label with that big of a reach, and then we ended up signing to Epic, which is like Sony, with a suddenly our budget to make records went like skyrocketed, and suddenly there's like supposedly money for promotion and this and that, and the label really wanted us to re-record that song. And at the time that wasn't necessarily a completely out there thing to do. It wasn't necessarily that weird. Like I knew, I mean, I remember Sensefield was one of the first bands that ever took us on tour, and they were like big influence on us. And they were on Revelation, and they signed to Warner Brothers. And I remember they re-recorded multiple songs for their major label debut. And I know there's obviously there's a history of bands going way back to the 60s recording single versions and then re-recording something. So it's not we didn't necessarily want to do it, but we felt like the label wasn't asking a lot of us at that point in time, and they really wanted us to do that, so we just thought it would be, sure, a good thing to do, I guess.
Do you feel like that's the better version of the song?
In many ways, I do. I do think the Love version is a little bit better vocally. I like the vocal performance better on it. But, I also think inherently the way that listening to music works is usually we form a bond with something the first time we hear it, or the first version. So I think if you heard the Love version first and that's the record that you got into our band on, then you would probably prefer that one. But if you were like Emotion is Dead was what you got into the band first on or before that, then I would think that you might prefer that version. So it is whatever. It's all subjective, really.
I mean, the fact that it endures as a song is an indicator that you wrote a good song. The fact you're able to make it meaningful for people two times over, and that
Appreciate it.
it still
Appreciate it.
remains one of your most streamed songs.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is a good sign. Now, for you, you've done a lot of interesting things in your career. It's not just being in the Juliana Theory or being in. I can never pronounce your old band's name. Zayo?
Zayo, yeah.
Yeah, Zayo. I've always seen it written, but I've never actually heard it spoken. It's an interesting
Yeah.
situation. And you've also worked in soundtracks and the likes, correct?
Yeah, I score movies which is probably part of the reason why I subconsciously why I picked a John Williams piece. Yeah, and I put out solo records too, which also don't sound anything like my band or Zayo, and they're
It's like
like just
country.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just yeah, I like to try as many different things as I can, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. So part of that, all of that involves storytelling, right? So storyteller,
100%.
you are effectively a storyteller. That is your job. You are a
Yes.
musical storyteller. Uh,
Yes.
do you think that the way that music conveys emotion is stronger than the way a lot of other art forms have the ability to do it? And do you think that the fact that you don't necessarily have to understand the lyrics to a song in order to be able to gravitate towards it, do you think that plays a role in how special it is in people's lives?
I think very much so. I don't want to say that music is the highest art form, but I do think that if I had to personally pick the one art form or medium that I feel has the most power to affect somebody on a profound level just by simply existing, I would say it's music because it operates on vibrations and because there is just the way that music is constructed in general. I just think if it's done right, it almost has to evoke some sort of feeling. So yeah, I think I don't know if I answered your question, but
No, it's good. And to me, like my favorite thing in the world is being in a room at a show, surrounded by like 1,000, 2,000, whatever, 100, whatever it is, people from different walks of life to me, that who for the amount of time that the band is on stage are all on the same emotional wavelength as me. And like we're all
yes.
linked arm in
Yep.
arm and we're singing. It's like a positive version of a cult or of a
True.
religious awakening. And it
Very much.
happens every time you go to a show. And that
Very much.
is not possible without the role of music. And that's why these churches and things use music for that purpose as well, is
So true.
because it moves people in a way nothing else does. So I can completely agree with you there. Do you still get that feeling watching other bands? I'm curious.
Yeah, definitely. If it's something that I like or or love, like I remember I saw a couple years ago we played Furnace Fest, the first year they brought it back, and I went and saw Jeremy Enoch, who's the singer for Sunny Day Real Estate, and he played acoustic by himself. And like he just started playing these songs that I, know really well, and immediately I was like, oh, I had to put on my sunglasses because like I just started tearing up immediately from as soon as I heard the songs, and just because it was just so powerful to me emotionally. So yeah, very much, very much.
That's brilliant. What's the last band you saw where you were like, man, I'm having a good time? This is some uplifting, enjoyable, or cathartic, whatever it may be, experiences I'm having going on here.
About a year ago, I think one of my all-time favorite hardcore bands, Unbroken, played a reunion in Southern California, and I went to that show and it was just like absolute pandemonium. It was just chaos. People were just going nuts the whole time, and there were so many kids that were not alive when that band was playing, and it like in their heyday, and it was awesome. It just took me back to being like 18 years old, and it was it was really, yeah, it was great. It was real. They had a bunch of technical difficulties, like the power went off on the stage for like 15 minutes and it didn't even matter. It was just great. And that was kind of a lot of hardcore shows in the 90s involved things like power not working anyway, so it was par for the course, I would say.
That's brilliant. It's so perfect that they managed to inadvertently bring back the magic
Yes.
of underground hardcore
Yes.
of old at their show. And that's something that I mean, hopefully you don't have the production issues that they had
I
when you
agree. I agree.
come
I
out
agree.
to Australia. But it would be somewhat fitting, given the
We won't. It won't happen, but it has happened. It's definitely happened to us before, where the power went out on stage, and you're just like, okay, cool. Now what? You know,
So awkward because what are you meant to do?
it's always like, and then everybody looks at the singer like, okay, now you have to entertain us, and like, oh,
Yeah.
what am I am I a stand-up comedian now? Like, what am I supposed to do here? You want me to do a little dance? What, you know, it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, that's when the dad jokes come out, and
Yes.
and
Oh yeah. That's not a problem that is not a problem for my band. The dad jokes is definitely not a we have dad jokes in spades for sure.
that's awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you, your dad jokes, your band, that record, the spill canvas, and thankfully this tour is coming to my town of Melbourne when you arrive. And I'm sure the people of Australia have been dying to have you back out here, so they'll be stoked as well. Before we do get on our way, I simply must know, and this is a doozy, who are the three best emo bands in your opinion?
This is a tough question to answer because most of these bands are going to not want to be called emo probably and will be
That's how you know they're an emo band.
and they're going to be offended. Okay. Um, for me, we've already slightly discussed this, but for me, it's like Sunny Day Real Estate's kind of the greatest of all time, number one, probably. Um, then I'm going to probably have to pick Jimmy Eat World because nobody else has been able to be, nobody else in the scene has lasted 30 years with the same four members. It has never changed and consistently put out good music. They've never broken up. They never went away. Every other band has gone on multiple hiatuses or broke up. That band never went away. They continue to do great stuff. They always sound great live. Um, and then, wow, this is tough. For right now, I'm gonna go with Texas is the Reason because they just announced that they're playing Best Friends Forever and Furnace Fest, and like they were such a big influence on early Juliana Theory. And I know they only put out one record, but it was such a good record, and they, in my opinion, don't get all the credit that they deserve. So there's so many other bands I could mention right now, like Sensefield or like Elliot or oh, there's so many bands, but yeah, those would be the three for now. So,
That is a brilliant trilogy of bands. And who knew that you could be inspired both by Texas is the Reason and Limp Bizkit?
yes, the Limp Bizkit definitely my all-time favorite band.
If anyone's
Number
listening
one.
and doesn't know what that's about, Google it. It's a fun discussion.
It is.
All right, thanks so much for chatting to me today, Brett. Thank you for writing music that I've listened to for the vast majority of my life as well. That's been lovely.
Thank you.
No worries, and probably playing some role in my own decision to get on stage and sing in front of crowds of people that wish I didn't. So thanks.
That's amazing. I'm honored. Very honored.
No worries. Have a great day,
You
and make
too.
sure that when you get out of the shower, put on that Superman theme and get
Yes.
ready to take
Yes.
on the world
Yes.
and prove that emotion may be dead, but life goes on.
Yes, exactly.
See you, man.
Take care. See you later. Thank you.